Stories of Ages Past. Episode 1. George Soros and the Day Britain Kneeled. The one-sided bet that shook all of Europe and the lesson never old. If you see a train about to derail, you don't wait for it to stop. You bet to make a profit. George Soros once said so. On a fateful Wednesday in 1992, he didn't just bet, he caused Britain to kneel. On September 16, 1992, the Times ran a haunting headline, Black Wednesday. That morning, people in Britain went to work as usual. But at the Bank of England's office, phones were ringing nonstop and pound purchases were pumped out as a last gamble. Somewhere in New York, a Jewish man, a refugee from Hungary who survived World War II, was ordering unprecedented short sales of the pound, more than $10 billion. The man who made Britain kneel was George Soros. He made over $1 billion in one day by shorting the pound, one of the most legendary trades in modern financial history. Thus, a mighty nation, once the center of the largest empire in history, was slowly brought down, not by war or terror, but by a man later known worldwide for the skill, the man who broke the Bank of England. To understand what happened, we need to go back to the early 1990s. Europe was trying to maintain the European Exchange Rate Mechanism, ERM, a stepping stone for the euro. Under ERM, each country committed to keep its currency stable against the German mark. Britain pledged to keep the pound within 6% of 2.95 marks. Yet Britain's economy was weak after the 1990 to 1991 recession, with high inflation, rising unemployment, and interest rates over 10%. Meanwhile, Germany, Europe's economic leader, needed high interest to control inflation after reunification. This locked Britain's monetary policy into an unsuitable framework. The two economies were moving in opposite directions, but Britain kept the fixed rate, forcing the Bank of England to keep high interest rates. George Soros saw the fatal weakness. The pound was overvalued beyond Britain's economy. If investors collectively sold the pound, the British government faced two paths: raise interest rates sharply to defend the currency, choking the economy, or abandon ERM and let the pound depreciate, a political disaster. Soros, sensing blood, acted. I simply followed economic logic. Their failure to see it was their fault, he said. Soros, via Quantum Fund, started to build huge short positions on the pound with forward contracts worth billions. He borrowed pounds from banks, sold them, waited for depreciation, then bought back cheaper, profiting on the difference. When you see someone trying to hold up a failing bridge, adding weight isn't cruel. It's market logic, said a trader who shorted the pound with Soros. He was not alone. On September 15, 1992, hedge funds collectively sold pounds. On the morning of the 16th, the Bank of England intervened with £15 billion and raised interest from 10% to 12%, then 15% within hours. Still, no one believed Britain would maintain the rate. By day's end, the Treasury officially withdrew from ERM. The pound plunged 15%. Soros and fellow speculators gained billions. The UK government lost credibility, reserves over £3.4 billion, and fell into fiscal crisis. We had no choice. The market won. Norman Lamont, UK Chancellor, September 16, 1992. The next day, Soros was dubbed the man who broke the Bank of England. He spoke little but quietly kept investing. Quantum Fund earned $1 billion in days. Soros personally pocketed an estimated $500 million. When asked if he felt guilty, Soros calmly replied, "I didn't destroy the pound. I just realized it was unsound. I bet on the truth." The lesson remains valid. Soros won not just with money, but by reading what a government would not admit: the truth. The market ignores politicians. It reacts to beliefs, financial logic, and facts. After this event, Britain recovered freed from ERM constraints. Many economists say leaving the fixed rate was ultimately good for Britain, but its echoes remain today. Norman Lamont, who led intervention orders, recalled, "I will never forget the Prime Minister's eyes. Helpless, angry, full of disappointment." Black Wednesday was more than a financial victory. It's a reminder: economies cannot fight market logic forever. Nations clinging to fixed rates, irrational interest, or denial will pay the price. This lesson may repeat, not just for the pound, but any country resisting the natural flow of capital and trust. Nearly 30 years later, questions remain among investors. Is Soros betting against something again? Many think Soros trades less now, but related groups still make sensitive bets. With AI fueling a new asset bubble, Soros has warned investors about chasing technology without understanding essence. Scott Bessent, his former assistant, now U.S. Treasury Secretary, takes a tough stance on monetary and fiscal policy. Ironically, though Bessent once helped break a national currency, he now defends the dollar from massive sell-offs amid huge budget deficits. Today's markets are at historic highs across stocks, Bitcoin, and gold, but amid the clamor, investors should watch closely. One day there could be a new Black Wednesday. This time, nobody knows. Maybe for AI or US government bonds. You just heard Stories of Ages Past from the channel Reverse Finance, Episode 1, George Soros and the Day Britain Kneeled. Subscribe to catch weekly tales of history's gambles and the moves of finance's greatest minds. Thank you for listening.